Well, hi everybody. Finally getting around to doing the video from our Cloud Peak Wilderness trip that we took in September of 2025. It's now the end of January 2026. Actually, what today is? Yeah, the 31st. So I've been pretty slow about getting it done. It was -5 here at the house this morning, so you don't get to see me in the backyard like usual, but you do get to see this beautiful vista here with my pet buffalo running around in the background. So anyway, stick with me, and we'll have hopefully a good video here. That's been a long time coming, and I'm finally getting it done. I appreciate you joining again. And for anybody who hasn't seen the channel before, welcome. I hope you enjoy this uh, and check out the other videos. But anyway, so Cloud Peak Wilderness in September of 2025. It's been a place I've been looking at over the last several years, and Trisha and I finally made a made a shot at it this year. So we really only skirted the edge of the Cloud Peak Wilderness. There's a big loop a lot of people do. We did not get that ambitious. We were coming off of another pretty challenging but short trip to Colorado with Brian, which that video is up also. Um, the Indian Peaks Wilderness, and we wanted to make this one a little less taxing on us. It turned out to maybe not be as less taxing as we'd hoped, just because long trails and rugged trails in Wyoming is Wyoming, but it rocks. So maybe we'll get another chance to go back to Cloud Peak Wilderness, but give you the kind of the rundown here of what we did. We started from the Hunter Trailhead, which is on the east side of the Bighorn Mountain Range. It's a very popular place. Actually, we went in on August 31st, with I think the first day we hit the trail, and elk season was opening the next day, so bow season. So the trailhead had a lot of folks going in for elk season. Um, it is a lot of the area is accessible by like four-wheel drive stuff like that. It was not nuts by any means. Some people going in on horseback and things like that. But a little bit of our route, day one, we started, as I said, at the Hunter Trailhead. We passed through Soldier Park. I talk about that in the video a little bit, how it got its name. I'll put a link in the description. There are a couple of men who died over the years, and we went by their gravesite there. That's why they call it Soldier Park. The wilderness boundary, going that route, is pretty far in, almost to our final destination for the day, which was Elk Lake. Did some research, obviously, about the trip, like I usually do, and so we picked that to stay our first night there. Um, I It was a neat place. I'm not sure I would recommend it for an overnight spot, just for the simple reason that Elk Lake is really shallow, like really shallow, and you'll see some pictures. We had some moose join us on the first night, a cow and a calf. Could care less, we were there. Came out and fed, but that whole thing is like knee deep on a moose the whole way across, and so it's shallow. It's full of algae. It's pretty nasty. Clogged up our filter like right out of the gate. Beautiful spot, but yeah, as far as I'd find a different water source, the outflow, I was looking at that too. It wasn't great. So we just did the best we could. It was a neat night. It has its own kind of like microclimate. It got really cold that night. I have a little cheapo thermometer I have on my backpack, and that was looking at like right around 25 degrees. It was a frosty, frosty night, but fortunately the sun came up the next morning. We got dried out, packed up, and everything worked out pretty well. So um, the second day we went up to Seven Brothers Lakes. It was up and over a pass out of Elk Lake, which was the highest elevation, I think 10,600 of the trip. It was not as challenging a day as day one because it was a little bit less mileage and less challenging trail. These are all used by pack animals, so they do tend to tear things up a little bit. But anyway, it was all good. There really wasn't a lot of steep climbing until you right before you get to the Seven Brothers Lake, and then you got to go up like 700 feet or something, and then it's pretty straight up. So we stayed up there the second night, checked out the lakes. We'd planned on actually staying another night after this, but the forecast was looking like some thunderstorms were going to be hitting the next day. So we made that was our second and last night, and came down and out of the wilderness on the third day. We got to the trail, back to the trailhead, just as the thunderstorms were hitting, and they kind of hung around that area. So I'm glad we made the call. You know, better safe than sorry. We had a good time. So the next day, we actually went and to a different part of the wilderness area. It's called the Circle Park area. So we just did a day hike in there, just kind of in and out. It's a pretty area, lots of little lakes and ponds, and it's actually a good place if you are like new to backpacking. The trails were not. You can do a loop in there. There's a couple of good places to camp along the way that we saw. Water sources available. You're going to see other people. Look like a couple of groups that had just kind of come in for the night and out when we were going in there. But if you want to kind of get a taste of it, that's probably not a bad place to go. So we'll do the usual thing with the maps and the flyovers and stick around at the end for the slideshow. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy my pet buffalo, and thanks for waiting for me to forever for me to get this video done. So without further ado, here we go. Here's our map for day one, and as I mentioned, we started at the Hunter Corral Campground. The Hunter Trailhead is what you'll hear it referred to most of the time. And we started this on August 31st, which was the day before the opening of archery elk season. So the corral had a lot of people going in for that. And because you don't get to the wilderness boundary until you're almost to Elk Lake, you will get some motor vehicle traffic through all this. There wasn't a ton. There was a couple of guys, a couple of trucks along the way, a couple of UTVs, stuff like that, but nothing, and a few groups going in on horseback. So we'll take a look at the trip again, following it from the trailhead. We actually were thinking about taking this trail, which is called Ditch Trail, which is a shortcut. Most of this, all the way up to Triangle Park, is actually on a road, forest road, 4-wheel drive road. Not something you could take your family's car down, but we're going to take Ditch Trail, and it's not marked where it starts. I had seen a couple of videos about this, so I kind of knew what it looked like, but frankly, we missed it and went around and didn't notice that we'd missed it until we got up to the end of it here to the west. And again, not marked. You just got to kind of know it. We saw it there, and so that's the way it was. We just continued on up the trail. We passed through Soldier Park. You'll see some video about that. There are a couple of grave sites there, and I'll talk about that in that clip. And I will also put a link in the video description, so if you're interested, you can see more about that. Continued on up through Soldier Park on up to Triangle Park, and that's where you really lose most of the any vehicle traffic at all. It's really not accessible by vehicle, so this is a foot trail through here, and this is where you do most of the climbing. So if we follow along our elevation map here, you'll kind of see where things start getting steep and you start climbing up right here. And then you'll go up over the top, and kind of right where you hit the peak of the elevation is where the wilderness boundary is. And from that area, it's just a gradual downhill. You can see Elk Lake. This area up in here is very bouldery and kind of pretty rugged. So walked through there, walked around to the other side of the lake looking for good campsites. Now, Elk Lake is really shallow. You'll see some more video that that will illustrate that. The whole thing is very shallow. There are actually cattle that will come up in here. We didn't see any, but there are plenty of cow pies and things right there. And I will tell you, Elk Lake about killed our water filter on the first day. It's pretty nasty water, to be quite honest. Beautiful spot, but be prepared. I did try to kind of pre-filter the water. It didn't work. So it was, as far as that goes, kind of an interesting thing to deal with there. But that was our first day. It was probably certainly physically the most challenging. We were kind of hoping, hey, this is going to be a walk in the park, so to speak, and it was actually pretty tough hike, rugged trails. Again, a lot of livestock traffic, a lot of horse traffic, and horses do tend to tear up the trails and make them really rocky. But a good day. We made it in there, and so now we'll get into the video. All right, let's start our flyover. Compliments of Map Director. There you can see we're starting at the Hunter Trailhead, and this is where we missed Ditch Trail, and continuing on, coming up to Soldier Park here. So skirted along the east edge of Soldier Park. Got through that. This is Triangle Park, and from here we started climbing up towards Elk Lake and the wilderness boundary. Through some switchbacks. You can see Ant Hill up to the west of us, some more switchbacks, and now things smooth out. We're able to see Elk Lake from here, and then crossed over the outlet. And all the squiggling is us looking for a campsite, and finally winding up at Elk Lake for the evening. Okay, we made it to Soldier Park. We gotta find our trail, our road that goes off to the north from here. But actually there's good camping in here. I wanted to make a short day out. Down there, look at that. And so the two guys buried here, apparently one was a French surveyor with a military party that accidentally shot himself with his rifle in 1877, and the other guy died in 1920, and I cannot remember the circumstances, but this is where they lay. And you can probably read the names. I can't get them, but if you look this up, I did find some info on it, so we'll have to make sure we don't miss our turnoff. All right, welcome to Triangle Park. And that peak, the one to the left, it's higher up, that's Ant Hill. And our lake we want to get is up and over through a little gap the other side of that. So I believe we're going off that away somewhere, the trail intersection here. Hello, my trail beauty. Good little view out there. You can see far.
A little smoky.
A little bit. Yeah, there were a couple fires on the southwest side of the range, so I'd be blown over here. Quite a change in topography. Mountains go down and then the hills take over. Good job, my love. It's a cool view. We're finally reaching tree line here. All right, here comes Trisha down the hill. Way behind her is the wilderness boundary sign. And our first view of Elk Lake coming up. There she is. Get down there and find somewhere to camp. That's the plan anyway. So here is our trail for day 2 of our hike. And as I mentioned in the intro, we spent a really cold night at Elk Lakes. It has its own little microclimate, and it got down to the mid 20s. So everything was coated in frost. And fortunately, the sun was out in the morning, and we were able to get stuff dried out before we packed it up and continue on our way. So we began from Elk Lake and headed south. Uh, and it will show the stats here so we can kind of follow the elevation. So beginning at Elk Lake, which is just under 10,000 feet, uh, start right away climbing up once you get out of the basin and get up here over this pass, which as far as I know does not have a name. I couldn't find one anywhere. In the video, you'll hear me describing about our descent into Florence Creek, which this is not. It's actually North Clear Creek, and that runs right down here. To the west of here, not shown on the map, is a Florence Pass, and I had them mixed up in my mind. So at any rate, got up on the pass, started climbing down, and our objective for the day was to get to the Seven Brothers Lakes. So down we went, finally getting down into the drainage for the North Clear Creek, which is really pretty. There were actually some really pretty cool looking areas to camp down in there, and I was like, hey, let's do that. But we decided to continue up to the Seven Brothers Lakes. I'm glad we did. This is really the last little push here is really steep, kind of a real gasser to get up to the lakes. But once you do, it was actually really worth it. And we got up, and the best looking areas to camp from my research were right when you get to the first of the lakes, and that proved to be true. There are other places if you're willing to look, and you'll see some video, some other spots that look some pretty decent. But the best areas were right by that first lake. There was no one else there. It was really nice. So we made it at fairly early in the afternoon, um, set up camp, and then we're able to hike around the Seven Brothers Lakes area. And you'll see that green trail that kind of goes along there. So we followed that for quite a ways and checked out some of the other lakes, then back to the camp. And that was it for the night. So we'll take a look at the flyover and go from there. Here we go on our flight from Elk Lake, and we began climbing up out of the basin, and up we go over the pass again with Ant Hill off to our left side. That would be looking east, and then top the pass back down into North Clear Creek and along this little ridge area, which was pretty cool getting through here. It's interesting how it looks on the map. Down into the North Clear Creek drainage, and then up the hill all the way to the Seven Brothers area. And this is a nice view of them from the satellite. All right, I did not take any video of our camp this morning. We had a really heavy frost last night. Everything was very wet. It's all dried out. 9 o'clock, we're getting ready to hit the trail over to Seven Brothers. So last look of Elk Lake in the morning, looking into the rising sun here. And I think we got to go up and over that. So I lied yesterday. That'll be our highest point. That's 10.6. Yesterday was 10.2. So, all right. All right, we are at the top of the unnamed pass between Elk Lake, which is behind me. We're looking down into the Florence Creek drainage, and we have to go down there to our Seven Brothers Lake. And so we're looking south right now. And turn into the west. I'm looking back north. Can't see our lake anymore. It's down below the pass. We get the sun in our eyes here. So this is actually our highest elevation. It's 10.6. Quick look coming down the south side of our pass. Pretty much following the cairns down. Nice big meadow on our way to Seven Brothers. All right, a look at the first of Seven Brothers lakes. We are camped on this one for our second night, and it's about 4 in the evening. So we're going to take a little walk and then come back and have dinner. Another of the Seven Brothers lakes, not sure which. And I think that's Ant Hill way in the background there. We came down the side of, no wait, let's see, no, Ant Hill's, can't be, that's too far east. I don't know, I have to look at the map. Anyway, here's the lake. Nice spot. Sounds like the outflow or inflow running over there. Okay, back from our little hike to see a couple of other lakes. Quick view of camp, and then we're going to make dinner. This is it in all its glory. Not supposed to have fires up here because you're above 9,200, but a lot of people do. This is camp. See the lake right down here. Got a great little comfortable spot for the tent in the trees. Have a good night. Finally, we're at our map for the third and final day of our trip. And again, we began up at the Seven Brothers Lake area. Most of it was pretty straight downhill back to the Hunter trailhead. So we began up here. Our cursor's at near our campsite, 9,500 feet. Went down the steep section back across North Clear Creek, and we followed the trail back out. This part was a new part of it, but then we finally got out right here to Soldier Park and hooked up with where we had gone before, which was up this little trail just to the north of the cursor, and then followed it back around. Once again, we found ditch trail, but we said, we'll just go the way we had been going. I think I might have mentioned in the intro that we were watching the weather forecast, and they were calling for thunderstorms this day. The clouds were starting to roll in as we were packing up camp, and right about when we got down to about here, they started hitting. So thunder started booming, and it actually held off. The first drops hit us when we made it all the way back to the trailhead, which was pretty nice of the weather gods. So we didn't get wet, but the thunderstorms did kind of remain for the afternoon. So yeah, so we bailed a little bit early just to avoid that, get out of the open areas and high spots before that happened, and had an enjoyable day. So all in all, this was a pretty easy hike out. As you can see up on our stats here, 7 miles, and it was all downhill. So that wound up the day. We'll go ahead and watch the final day on our video. Here we go with our day 3 flyover. Beginning up at the Seven Brothers Lake, we started heading north down into the Clear Creek drainage, and then we turned towards the east and headed out towards the trailhead. You'll see coming up here a little farther ahead is Soldier Park, which is actually pretty big. And as we got to the far end of that, we passed where we had turned a little bit to the north to go in on the first day. Continued to backtrack at this point past Ditch Trail. And right around here is when the thunderstorms started rolling in and banging and booming. But we made it all the way to the trailhead, stayed dry, and wrapped up day number 3. Okay, by royal decree, morning tent tear down at Seven Brothers Lakes. We'll be bugging out today because there's storms coming. Here we go.
High on the mountain, I tell you what I see. The bear tracks looking back at me. You better get your rifle, boy, before it's too late. Cause the bear's got a little pig and headed through the gate. He's big around the middle and he's brought across the road, riding 90 miles an hour, taking 30 feet a jump. He ain't never been caught, he ain't never been treed. And some folks say he look a lot like me. Old Slewfoot, he's a mighty, mighty bear. Feet like a tub and long brown hair. He's 11 feet tall and he's 20 feet around. He's headed up the mountain, boy, so whistle up the hound. He's big around the middle and he's broad across the rump, riding 90 miles an hour, taking 30 feet a jump. He ain't never been caught, he ain't never been treed. And some folks say he look a lot like me. Well, I saved up my money and I bought me some bees, and they started making honey way up in the tree. I cut down the tree, but the honey's all gone. Old Slewfoot's done made himself at home. He's big around the middle and he's broad across the rump, running 90 miles an hour, taking 30 feet a jump. He ain't never been the caught, he ain't never been the treed. And the summer folks say he look a lot like me. Winter's coming on and it's 20 below. The river's froze over, so where can he go? We chase him up the gully and we run him in the well. We shoot him in the bottom and we listen to him yell. He's big around the middle and he's broad across the rump, running 90 miles an hour, taking 30 feet a jump. He ain't never been caught, he ain't never been treed. And some folks say he look a lot like me. Some folks say he look a lot like me. Some folks say he look a lot like me. Some folks say he look a lot like me. Some folks say he look a lot like me. Some folks say.
That's all, folks. This trail will take you out too. Working our way down from Seven Brothers. Down halfway down.
It's the last track, it's fun.
The fun part. I can get across and grab your pack.
No.
Watch the hole. You gotta go that way.
I know.
I think the name of this is Florence Creek. Clouds are already building. It's what time is it? 9:50 in the morning. Well, whatever happens there, it's only ankle deep. Good job, beauty. Alright, that's the way we came from. And that's the way we're going to get out. Up that way is where the Solitude Trail goes. And then we could actually see this crossing point from the top up there where our camp was. And we just came over a few feet. So, good job. Off we go. Yeah, see the clouds are building back there. Pretty here though, isn't it? All right. You see the stream down there. Beautiful meadow. Last, we come to our map from our Circle Park day hike, which was our 4th day in the Cloud Peak Wilderness. And I have it zoomed out a little bit so you can see the entire route that's possible, starting from the Circle Park trailhead up here in the right. We just followed the route that's outlined in red, but I'll get to that in a minute. This is actually a really pretty area. It's you're in the trees quite a bit, at least for the part we did, but it's possible to do a nice loop here, and it actually looked like a really good place for kind of a, if you were like a beginning backpacker and just wanted to go in and spend one night and make a pretty quick and easy trip, this would kind of be a cool place. So I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can talk about that some more. And if we can follow the bouncing cursor from the trailhead up here, we basically just followed the main trail up this way, stopped and took a look at a couple of little lakes and marshes along the way. And then I'm going to zoom in again a little bit so we can see the name. So right here is Sherd Lake. And you'll see in the video where we kind of walked up the trail and just popped up, and there it was. It was really actually very pretty. You could see the mountains to the north and the west. And so then we just continued up the trail just to where you see our little track end right here where we crossed a marsh. There was a bridge there. It's a nice open spot to actually camp, have lunch. So that's what we did. And then we just turned around and went out. So in our video, I will not include a lot of the stuff that was just in the trees and there was really no views. I'll try to be a little bit more selective here. So what you'll see is not all the walking, is just kind of some of the prettier areas. It's not like visually spectacular, but it was actually a nice way to spend the day since we bugged out a little early due to the thunderstorms the previous day from our main hike. So we'll take a quick look at the flyover and go from there. And our Circle Park flyover begins here from the Circle Park trailhead. And you'll see we just headed off through the woods past a few of the lakes along the way, then came up to Sherd Lake, started turning towards really the southeast, and all the way to the end where we decided we'd had enough, had some lunch, and turned around. And that was our day hike. Okay, since we were weenies yesterday and let the thunderstorm chase us out of the mountains, we're day hiking today at the Circle Park trailhead. So come along. wish I'd been a little faster. Big red tail in the dead tree over there. We're at the first of many little ponds here in Circle Park. Neat. Sherd Lake. Wow, very pretty. Really pretty place. It's kind of cool. You come up that little steep few feet there, you're like eye level with the water. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Neat. We'll walk around the, let's see, we're headed south. So I guess it'd be the east side of Sherd. And we're looking off to the west here at the mountain tops. Yeah, that other trail takes you somewhere up there. And there's another lake the whole meets up with the whole loop. Very pretty. Very pretty though. Hello, trail budgie. I hear your friend yelling at us. Just want to know what to do. Hi. He's curious. Hi there, cutie. You're looking for handouts, huh? Oh, had enough of us. So again, we're looking mostly west here. This trail runs north-south. And it's just full of little ponds and stuff. It's really pretty. And yet another pond and a place for a snack break. Yay!
A welcome surprise for hike here. Bridge instead of getting all muddy up to our crotches. And this will probably be about the end of our hike. Wow, I bet you find some moose or something running around in here occasionally. Neat. Really appreciate the boardwalk too. A little bit of water flowing out. A good camp area up there, it looks like.
How do I get to those same old places, never knowing which way to go? So many times that it goes without saying I'll be waiting around for a while for a better day to come my way. 'Cause every turn I'm taking leads me